Once you win it, and you've got to go all the way to the end.
Lando into the final corner, his first win of the championship. Lando across the line to win in China.
Because you commit yourself to such a level where there is no compromise. You give everything you have.
The strategy paid off. He had one of the best hits I've ever seen on the medium tires. Next, they'll tell and wins the Monaco Grand Prix.
Deep in towards the final chicane. Rudy's trying to go for it on the inside. There's still both wheels of water. Mayor Will's obstacle's gone round.
Oh my word!
And you need more than anything a very clear mind to understand exactly when is the moment to be aggressive, when is the moment to be calculated.
He spun towards Brendan.
Oh, wing damage! Oh, Brendan's out!
He's down a race! Oh my god, he's down a race!
When you are under a lot of pressure, in a critical moment, in a championship or in a particular race, it's the one that can put together the combination between aggressivity and calculating things that will get the best result.
Oh, it's good to be back, Jack. Let's do this. We have, at last, Season 6 of League of Europe Division 2 in front of our eyes, and very soon we will be raring to go racing. Slight delay to the lobby, but now, in fact, we are just about getting things kicked off. Not the greatest attendance, only 16 for tonight, but I'm sure that's not going to detract much from the action out on track. We've got a great field here of 20 full-time drivers. 6 reserves as well are going to be going at it out on track. Can't wait to see how this gets on as they now get readied up in the lobby. We're going to get going very soon for qualifying. First round at Bahrain. Can't wait to see how this goes because, wow, this is going to be electric. Season 6 about to get underway very shortly, and boy, this is going to be a good one.
Get straight underway as we already have a few cars in qualifying, Dan.
Yeah, the first one on a lap, predictably, was QVR Packer, but already spearing off at turn 3, and so that's his lap already put to bed slightly. Behind him on the track, we have Ariel Nolan, and this is a guy that always goes wells around this track, so let's see what he can do. Into the first sector now, flicking in to turn 6, a little bit nervous on the curve over on the inside, but he holds it together through 7 onto the brakes, and at turn 8, trying to get to that apex a little bit wide, then picking up that throttle. You just got to try and point and squirt the car through the exit, then downhill, braking zone at turn 10, always tricky to get it slowed down without a lock-up. Nolan nice and clean, DRS is open, down the back straight, heading into the second half of the lap then, opening up with turn 11, using the curb to open up the entry, runs a little bit wide though, just keeps it on track, bounds though through turn 12, is easily flat out, now into turn 13, it keeps widening and widening and widening, you've got to get onto the curb and as early on the throttle as you can, again just about keeps it within the bounds of the track, and now he looks towards the final 2 corners then, turn 14, got to be careful here not to overrun it on the exit then, so you can keep it on track through turn 15 at the kink. Gary first over the line, my apologies, he does do a 25 flat to open it up. Nolan just a few hundredths slower, 125.1, so Gary opens up well in the 25s. We'll be seeing times, I imagine, going well into the 24s though. Strong start from Gary, but this is still very early days. The Aston Martin on top, but the flurry of lap times coming in. Killer Blue to the top. We're going to see a lot of quick times here in Division 2. Killer Blue up at the top of the timesheets for the moment, but there's going to be a flurry of laps coming in very shortly.
Yeah, there certainly are. I'm looking at TTG / he is currently on a set of the medium tyres, so I'm quite intrigued to see what he's going to do on those mediums. Old School, of course, Division 3's champion last season, starting a lap. Carmental is coming across the line to do a 25.8. Ivan Bakker, I don't know how you say his name, but he is just come over the line in the Alpine to do a 25.6, and Knuth as well, 25.5 for the other TTG driver. Hardy now also coming across the line, a 26.4 for the Ferrari driver. Not particularly what he'd want to be doing, but I suppose it is what it is. I know, as I said, Old School, he's currently on purple in Sector 1. Whether that's true or not, I'm not too sure. But Ariel Assassin also jumping up into second position. Only just managed to catch on board with that one. But Old School coming up towards turn number 10 now. Again, it's a very, very tricky corner. Takes it very, very nicely. He likes to call this his jungle. So we'll see if he is welcoming anybody to the jungle. Coming up now on the third DRS straight. Trying to break out around sort of the 50-meter board, does that very nicely. It does the Red Bull driver, and coming up towards the end of Sector 2, as you say, just keeps on turning and turning and turning, closing up ever more, trying to get as much of the apex as you possibly can, and a massive bit of oversteer for the Red Bull driver. So I don't know if he's going to come in and just say that lap was a bust, or if he's going to try and finish this lap. I'll just keep on board of him as he's around in the final corner now. Old School, DRS wide open, he's going to finish the lap up to the line into P6 at 25.379, and Nico going into 7th with a 25.431. Any sort of early predictions from that, Dan? Like anyone that you was expecting to be higher, or anyone that's a bit lower that you was expecting to be up towards the top end, or someone that's a bit too high, you reckon?
Well, in terms of too low, you've got someone like XL Hardy, who fought for the championship a couple of seasons ago, remember, in Season 4, so I think he's got a lot of quality to show through. Of course, this is a new game, of course, relatively new, so the pecking order can certainly shift. And Killer Blue 295, not 195, can never quite get used to that, is up at the top of the moment. Very small margins, though. Ariel Assassin, who we saw was very quick in qualifying last season, as well as CPI Marcel crosses the line, goes into P6, right in the mix. Relatively close at the moment, especially amongst the top 3 on a 25 flat at the moment. But yeah, expect a lot of lap times creeping into the 24s. It's still very, very early days in the session at the moment. So Killer Blue is at the top of the timesheets for the moment, but don't expect that lap time to be nearly good enough for pole position. Expect them to dip lower into the 24s. At the moment it's Killer Blue, but yeah, I think it's hard to really call at the moment. First runs in qualifying at the moment. Killer Blue is setting the pace. pace. We'll see if he can hold on to it though through the rest of the session.
Yeah, no, it was a good time for the Mercedes driver as well. Of course, Larkin not being here, Division 2's champion from last season. He is, for some reason, over at a wedding. No, he's not getting married. But, yeah, Killer, the one that is currently on par with his teammate. Assassin in second and Gary in third. Of course, Nolan in fourth, and then the two AlphaTauris of Peter and Marcel in fifth. Peter, I must admit, is a lot higher than what I would expect, I suppose. He's doing pretty well so far. I know it's only the first set of laps. He's still got another 10 minutes to go of qualifying. But as a banker lap, I would say that's quite a solid one for the Dutchman. Zadama just come across the line to do a 25.601, slotting himself in to P number 10. So just sort of falling short to his teammate by about 2.5 tenths. Matt Tibos currently on a lap as well. He is just coming up towards the uphills of the fast left and fast right of turn 11 and turn 12. I know that it's a bit of one that can catch people out. And if you was watching the pre-season races, you would see that Matt Tibos was basically a driving merry-go-round, but hopefully he's managed to sort that out now for this round, or for the first round, shall I say. He's now coming up towards the final corner. Let's see what Matt Tibos is going to do. Chucks it into fourth gear, coming around this final corner, short shifting it back up to fourth from third gear. DRS now going to be wide open for the Williams driver. Cross the line, and it's P7, 25.365. Quite a few margins. Well, only a few are ahead by a couple of margins.
Yeah, certainly just 200ths to Marcel in front, less than 200ths to Old School behind him. We saw definitely has more time in that lap with that fairly large mistake he made on the way to that time that he has set for the moment. So let's see who else is going to be lining up the times at the moment. A lot of drivers just preparing really for their second runs, but I do believe that Ariel Nolan, though, he's backed off a lap invalid. XL Gary looks to be the furthest one along, and he put in a very good first sector, 27.4. You want to be in the 103s through this middle sector split if you want to be up there for pole. Gary and a 104 flat, but he is slightly up. If he can pull together a really good last sector, could still be challenging that mark of Killer Blue. He only needs to find half a tenth. Can he find it now in this last corner, using the curb to turn the car right just next to the curb on the inside? Then nice clean exit, last set to look good enough. Is it going to be enough for provisional pole? Up to the line, XL Gary improves, but not by enough. He remains in P3 for the time being. His teammate QVR Nico, he's just crossing the line to start a flying lap at the moment, so everyone's still building up to it. QVR Packer, we're going to see what the Williams can muster in the early stages of the session. Of course, outside bet for the championship last season. What can he do to kick off this season? Up to the line is Packer, goes into P4 again, just over a 10th off the top mark, just in front of Ariel Nolan, so very tight at the top there. Killer Blue, can he improve? Yes, he can. He dips into the 124s for the first time. So Killer up to the top of the moment, but still very tight. Killer Blue hasn't stolen the march on the field, but he is going very well at the moment. So Killer on top. A lot of minute improvements, no crazy fast times just yet. I think these guys are really waiting to put it all together on the track.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got another 8 more minutes to go anyway, so yeah, there's going to be a few guys that are just, you know, getting themselves warmed up a little bit more, trying to just go for that full push on that final lap within the final, I'd say, final 3 minutes of this session. XL Hardy, he's done a 26.452. He's now coming across the line and is only improved by 2 tenths. He's jumped up ahead of Slash, but Slash, you've got to remember, he did that time on a set of the medium, so Hardy not going to be too happy with himself with that lap time. CPR Marcel just coming across the line to start a lap. Ariel Assassin in the pits to finish his lap, and I believe Nico is going to be the next one across the line. Gary's just making his way into the pits, but let's have a look. Nico, he's now coming around the final corner, a little bit of a wiggle from the Spaniard, and straight into the pits he goes. Car Mentalist is going to be the next one. In fact, no, he's not. He's the next one into the pit lane. So a few guys just sort of backing off on their laps, not wanting to try and get that lap time on the board. Just seeing who else is currently out on a lap. I think Ivan Baker, however you say his name, he is just on his lap now, coming across the line. In fact, I think he might just be starting his lap time because he's done a 28.2. So
Peter.
Yeah, he's not going to be making an improvement. And Peter putting it on pole with a 24.966.
and Old School to the line goes 4th just behind Assassin. But yeah, Peter going right to the top of the timesheets then. Of course, historically very quick. A driver hasn't really shown it over the last couple of games, but Peter coming to form there, just 200s ahead though of Killer Blue. 6 minutes to go in the session, and a lot of drivers gearing up. 5 drivers within a 10th of a second of the pole position mark, so very close, very competitive. What we've come to expect from Division 2, but I think there are still a few nerves out there amongst the drivers. No one really put together their best stuff just yet. Knuth comes over the line, goes P8 on a 25.2. Further striking the field, Marcel goes second, and the AlphaTauris, just like last season, different driver lineup, but it's Peter and Marcel up in the top then in the 24s. These guys going strongly, and unlike when they had Arcolo and Jim as their lineup last season, now they got Peter and Marcel, and the team seems to have picked up exactly where they left off. 1-2 in qualifying, can they hold on to that?
That is very, very impressive from them. I said that Marcel could be playing a bit of an upset, and well, he's currently sitting in second, just shy from his teammate up at the top. Ivan just coming around the final corner and having a little bit of a slide coming out of it, but across the line, it's only P13 for the Alpine reserve driver. 25.558, still within a second of course from the person on pole position, of course being Peter at the moment, but I think we're starting to see shades of the old Peter Dornbell, as people would like to say. He was in Division 2, I think this is all the way back on the 3-lettered league that we shall not name, before it was the League of Europe. But yeah, he's starting to shine through some of his old pace. Saying that though, Ariel Nolan straight on the pole with 24.810. I said he was looking a lot better since the end of last season. That's just shown it. That has completely shown it. Already a 10th over the last pole position of Peter.
And the other thing we said about Nolan is that he goes very well around this circuit, and he's proved that yet again to the top. I think we're in a bit of a bit of a lull in the session in terms of action, so we're just waiting for more drivers to go out for potentially their final or second to last runs in the session. But Ariel Nolan, yes, to the top of the timesheets on a 24.8. Still think that's beatable with a lot of the drivers here, so let's see what they can all muster up. Of course though, he has still on a bit of a march. 1/10.5 by Division 2 standards is a serious break on the rest of the competition. So Ariel Nolan to the top of the timesheets. We'll see if anyone else is able to trouble that. I think QVR Maledictus is the only driver really on a flyer at the moment. But he wasn't particularly quick to the first sector. Very tentative on the brakes he was heading into the into turn 10 and a bit way through turn 11. I can tell you, as a bit of inside knowledge, he's been kind of touring the country of Portugal over the last week, so he's not had much of a chance to practice, and it's around about a second and a half off the pace of the middle sector. Runs wide as well and then validates. So Maledictus struggling to really get dialed in at the moment. Needs to learn fast though if he wants to keep up with this Division 2 field, and if he's going to try and be competitive tonight. But now I think we're waiting, looking towards the final runs in the session. I think Zonema is leading them at the moment on an outlap, so we'll see what he can do. Nolan has a top mark, 124.8. Will that be good enough for pole position? I do not know, but we'll see how it happens. Nolan up top, but a lot of drivers gearing up though. They'll be more than eager to try and topple that 24.8.
It certainly will. I mean, the pole position time in Division 3 was a 24.793 from Tin Can, so I'm expecting a lot of these times to start coming down a lot more now. It's just whoever's going to execute it and get that one on top. Zaldiman, not known of course for his qualifying, usually more for his racecraft, and well, he's currently sitting down in 13th for 25.601 for him, but I mean, he's now just going to be the one that's going to be starting his final flying lap. So let's get this straight underway for the Dutch driver. He's now making his way up towards turn number 1, breaking at the 100-meter board, keeping that in the second gear, short shifting that straight up in the third, up in the fourth, and possibly up into fifth as well, mounting that curb on turn number 3, making sure he gets the tightest line possible. DRS now wide open of course for the Dutchman as well, breaking that around the 100-meter board for turn number 4 to come up towards turn 5, 6 and turn 7. And what's it at the end of sector 1? It's a 10.5 up on his time, so at least that will put him around where QVR Nico is, maybe even around where Matt Tibos is, depending on of course what these final 2 sectors are going to be looking like for the XL driver. Just as also a note, Car Mentalist and I believe Hardy are the other 2 that are just behind him on on their final laps as well. So we'll keep an eye and see what these guys are going to be doing towards the end of the session. Gary as well, also just currently on a lap, but Zadama still riding on board with him, of course, coming up the hill, coming through the left, and now coming up the right, where you just feel like you're turning for an eternity. No pun intended. 2.5 tenths up on his time, and again, as I said, this is going to put him around sort of where Matt Tibos is. He's going to get some slipstream from his teammate on the penultimate straight as well, so that's going to be even more of a booster for the Dutchman. Let's see where time this is going to put him at. Very nicely done out of the final corner up towards the line. Zadama, it's only P9 at 25.230. Commentalist into P11 at 25.265, and Zadama just giving his teammate a bit of slipstream as well. So Old School, of course, on his final run. Hardy, I think just well, something happened with him and didn't manage to get that time done for himself. A few other guys also just currently finishing their laps. Gary's going to be, I believe, the next one to finish his lap, as Nolan just starting his final lap. Gary across the line into P3 with 24.979. 0.02 of a second. He's just beaten one of the Alpha Tauris. It's so close, and it's literally from 3rd to 5th, not even a 100th of a second.
It is remarkably tight. The smallest of mistakes, the smallest of improvements could make massive differences here in the session. And Killer Blue is on a monstrous lap at the moment. 3 tenths up to the middle sector, to the line. Is Killer Blue, can he put it on provisional pole? Yes, he can, by just over 1/10 of a second. Is that going to be enough, though, to hang on to the top spot? There's still so many talented drivers out for that time. QVR Packer slightly down, though, through the middle sector. Up to the line, he's got a bit of time to find if he wants to even get it to P9, crosses the line, does stay in 10th at the moment. Who is next up to challenge? Old School, a few tenths down though on his lap. He may have to settle for P8 at best. To the line is Old School, just down for the moment. Anyone else to step up though? Assassin's on a good lap, but his teammate Hardy is further along at the moment, half a second up, needs more than that though to improve. Up to the line is Hardy. Ooh. He does in the end jump up only to 14th possession then. Knuth dives to the pit lane. Ariel Assassin, I said it was a good lap, goes second, just within a 10th of the pole time. No one to the line, doesn't improve, can't quite find it in the end. So who else could be there? Iwan Bakker now in the 3s to the middle sector. This could be quick. He goes in a 10th possession then. At the moment, 25 flat. The times are coming down all the time then. Who's going to be next up over the line? Gary's backed off the lap then. Carmental's into the pit lane. It's just Maledictus now coming up to the line. I think this is going to be just about it then for the session. Maledictus is down on his time by a long way, so that is qualifying. Killer Blue on top from Assassin and Nolan. Great lap from Killer Blue, just under a 10th ahead, and looking at how tight that midfield is. My oh my, what a race, what a season we've got ahead of us.
They're all split. It's literally split by about 0.6 of a second from 1st down to 14th. That's insane. That is so close. I thought we could not get any closer from Division 2, even from Season 4. Season 5, it was very close. Season 6, already, just in this first qualifying session alone, it's all compact. It's all compact. Peter did end up improving on his time, by the way, but it wasn't enough to go up ahead of Nolan, so the Dutchman's just going to stay down in 4th. But Killer, what an insane lap from the Mercedes driver. And, I mean, if anything's to go by from that, this could put him... Well, he could be the leading his championship by the end of this race.
Well, let's see. It could be anyone up top then. As yeah, we'll just run through the order. Actually, I can't navigate this, so I don't know who's lower than 14th. I'm not sure if you can.
That's fine. So I'll quickly just take you through it. So Killer, of course, starting it on pole with Assassin alongside him in 2nd. Nolan in 3rd with Peter rounding out the 2nd row. Gary in 5th. Marcel in 6th. Matt Tibos in 7th. Old School in 8th. QVR Nico in 9th. Even in 10th. Packer starting on, as I like to call it, the poor man's pole position in 11th, with Zadama in 12th, Knuth in 13th, Carmentalist 14th, Hardy 15th/16th, and Maledictus. I think the only reason why he didn't set his time is because he joined late on in the session, so he wasn't actually allowed to set a time, but he will be starting at the back of the grid. And I wonder if he's going to try and make up a few places off the start. I know we saw it in Division 3 and even in Division 1. There's a few sort of guys that just managed to make their way up through the start, so I don't know. I'm quite intrigued to see how this one's going to go for us, Dan.
Yes, certainly, Jack. And yeah, it's a reasonably long run into turn one, but more than anything, very, very easy to both gain and lose positions through those first few corners. We see so much racing down then in the game and in real life, to be fair, that back and forth action that we're going to see, especially on that first lap. So it's going to be very interesting down there. You need a good start and you need to position your car very smartly to be able to get through those first few corners okay, and of course most important of all, to avoid damage. So let's see how things are going to unfold, what the strategies are going to be like. As you mentioned, the guys like Paco starting on that poor man's pole position. We'll see what these guys are going to on strategy. Don't expect many softs to be in use then as they set off on the formation lap. We'll get a look. So obviously all the top 10 forced onto those soft tyres, but outside the top 10, almost unanimous in terms of the tyres, with one exception, Jack.
Yeah, Slash going for a set of the hards, which is quite a strange one, to be honest with you, because I know, and I've done this myself, outside of the top 10, you can go from a medium and go onto the softs at the end of the race, and they don't really wear too much, so I'm quite shocked that Slash has actually gone for a set of the hards. Of course, he's probably going to try and go for a hard to soft strategy. Guys inside the top 10, probably I expect him to pit around lap 8 or 9, or 8 to 10. If they're going for the mediums, I would say lap 9 or 10. If we see anyone who try and go a bit earlier, they'll be going for the hards, or they'll be trying to go for a bit of a two-stop strategy. I don't know. I think we're going to be seeing an absolute chaotic mix of strategies throughout tonight, but it's whoever's going to play it right. Of course, any safety cars that can take into consideration from it, well, I suppose we're going to see when we get this one straight underway. But as I said, Killer Blue going to be the one that's just leading us through the formation lap. I know it's a bit too early to call, but any predictions for this race, Dan?
Well, Killer Blue, of course, leading from the front, and I actually think the strategy from inside the top 10 isn't too bad, especially starting on those soft tyres. It could come down to the guys that can look after them, though. I will say, I expect Killer Blue to hold on to this. I think he's got it in out. I'm actually going to say, though, in terms of a prediction, I'll give you my top 3. Killer in P1, I'm going to say Gary for P2 and Nolan for P3. These guys all starting inside the top 5 are a great springboard to attack from, but anything can happen. That prediction will probably go south, as most of mine do. Killer, though, leading them around then, waiting for the grid to settle. Ewan Bakker has been disqualified for the formation lap, so he is going to be starting at a tyre disadvantage then and could be vulnerable to the guys behind. But it is Killer leading them round. Assassin joining him on the front row. Can't wait to see how things are going to go. And in a race like Bahrain, where DRS trade could form, getting off the line is crucial. These guys in the front row, they'll know that it's adamant to be leading going into that first turn.
Yeah, they certainly will. I mean, I would probably say I might actually replace Nolan and say Pakov just because of him being on the alternate strategy. I know it is very, very good around here as well. So, I don't know. It's all going to be down to whoever's just going to keep their nose clean and who is going to be the best off the line as well. But for season number 6, we are here for round 1. We have the 5 red lights on, and it is lights out. And away we go for the first round of season 6 of the League of Europe. And Peter getting an absolute monstrous start. It now up into P2 and already trying to challenge Killer Blue down the inside in towards turn number 1. He's got Nolan around the outside, of course, as well into turn number 1. Gary trying to also get past Assassin. Assassin not having the best of starts from P2. Already down into 5th position. Matt Tibos up in the 6th. CPI Marcel now under pressure from Old School down in 7th position. Old School trying to go down the inside in towards turn number 4. I don't know if he's going to be able to get any sort of move done. No, he is not. Nico and Packer, the two QVR boys going at it now. Had a little bit of controversy from the last season, but Nico, the one that comes out on top. Packer down in 10th position. And Gary and Assassin going side by side, and Nolan going round. That's already one of your predictions out of the window.
That's Ariel. Yeah, he was side by side with Gary and a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, sending the McLaren right. That's all chaos down at the back of the field then. Zara were getting into a bit of contact with XL Hardy, who slots in behind the Red Bull driver. And now Hardy just in front of Nolan. Slash dropping in behind on those hard tires, struggling for grip. But Killer Blue's got away nicely up at the front of the race. There's battling everywhere down there. Ewan Bakker goes through on Car Mentalist. Didn't get off the line particularly well though. And the Alpine looking to make up ground then. It's sound of a very offline back in the pack. They're all over the road at the moment, but Killer Blue does lead it from Peter and Gary in P3. They all slow it into line in up in front, and you can see Matt Tibos trying to attack Ariel Assassin, but it is Killer Blue leading the way, trying to get out of that DRS range, burn that battery, but it's so difficult to do so, to get out of range. Killer leading at the moment, but Peter looks comfortable, already sitting within that range, and he'll look to try and stay in contact to lap 3, where he gets that DRS and could look to attack the leading Mercedes man.
Yeah, Matt Tibos trying to go for a move as well on Ariel Assassin Nolan out of the race already, retiring from the session in the pit lane. Dan or Zardama as well, also just in the pits. I think he must have picked himself up some wing damage. Car Mentalist also into the pits, so I'm assuming both of those guys picking themselves up some sort of damage. Nolan, in fact, has died on the straight, basically. So that's very, very weird to see so far down the straight as well. I'm not too sure what that one is about, but Matt Tibos didn't manage to get past Ariel Assassin in the end. The German just holding on to the Williams driver down there for, I believe that is 4th position. So Assassin just holding on to that one as well. Gary just trying to keep onto the back of Peter. I think starting to already pull away from Assassin as well. So Gary just making sure that he keeps up with Peter and keeps up with Killer Blue. Well, if anyone would have said this while we was in that 3-worded league that, again, we will not mention, I don't think anyone would be surprised. But in the League of Europe, Peter up in P2 from being in Division 3 last season, I think he's back in form.
He looks it certainly, and he's keeping with Killer Blue. Just about needs to remain within that DRS, which will come into play on the next lap then. So at the moment, all the soft runners staying in contention. At the moment, the train goes down to Iwa Bakker in 11th then. Packer has made a good start. He's the leading medium runner just in front of Knuth now over the line to kick off the 3rd lap of the race. And it looks like all these guys still in contact. Matt Tibos is trying to line up. Ariel Assassin can't quite get through there. You can see they open the wall, just holding on then. Nico, very late move, and then Iwa Bakker, Knuth fighting side by side. He through turn 2, off the road as the Alpine re-emerges behind the Alfa Romeo then. So Knuth gets in front then. He's got to try and work his way up to Packer, and he's got to run at Killer Blue's pace. These guys are all running at Killer Blue's pace now in the DRS train. The only guy that seems to be struggling, Jack, is Ariel Assassin. Gary is glued right to the wheel ring of Peter, and the Ferrari man behind struggling a bit more to keep in that DRS range.
Oh, certainly are indeed as well. And Ivan just trying to go down the inside of Knuth in towards turn number 8. Ivan, I don't think, was quite happy with Knuth. I saw him weaving on the straight when he was going through side by side on turn number 3. So I think Ivan was just not, I don't think he was too happy with the German driver. But Knuth now has that DRS. He's sort of let him back through, but they're now losing out that DRS to the back of Packer as well. So could be under threat is the Alpine reserve driver. But yeah, you're correct in that one. Ariel Assassin was starting to drop back off from Gary, but he's looked like he's just sort of played it a bit safer now and just gotten straight back into that DRS of the Irishman. And it's looking, it's whoever's also going to try and burn the ERS to try and get back within that DRS if they are out of it, or whoever can just sort of stay within it. But Killer Blue doing a very nice job up the front of the field. Peter almost losing out that DRS to Killer. Luckily, just managed to stay within it. In fact, no, he hasn't. He actually lost DRS to the Brit up in front as well. So Peter could be under attack from Gary. In these next few laps, there's a massive lockup going through turn number 1. I think that was from Matt Tibos down in 5th position. But luckily, we have not seen the merry-go-round of Matt Tibos yet. So he's doing a good job in P5 at the moment.
Oh, Killer, big oversteer out of turn 4, holds on to it though, up in the leader of the race. Peter at P2, he is working very, very hard to stay within range, and he's down to 25%. Killer Blue over 70% conversely. So at the moment, the AlphaTauri really having to motor along to stay within that DRS range, and I'm not sure if he's got it there. I think he may have been just outside, so that's going to allow Gary and the lights to try and close in, and Killer Blue now using the battery. He knows the opportunity he has now to make a break in this race, which will be absolutely vital. Killer Blue to the front of the race for the moment, but still an awful lot more to be seen. But yeah, Killer breaking away in 1.2 seconds. Peter's not got much of a chance of getting back within it unless there's a mistake from the Mercedes man. So Killer cruising away up front, and Peter trying to stay with him. But at the moment, with Gary hounding him and Louis RS, Peter's under real pressure, and the Aston Martin right on the AlphaTauri and looking for a way through.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable at this point. Now Peter's just about to get overtaken. I think the Irishman's about to get himself up into that P2 spot. There you go, DRS wide open for him. He's not using that ERS. He doesn't need to. Straight down the inside of the Dutchman, and that is moved on for the Irishman. Already up into 2nd position. He's now got his fellow XL driver up in front of him that he wants to try and catch up to. Peter will have the DRS though going up into towards turn 4. I wonder if we'll see him try and get back past Gary. It doesn't look as if we will. So Peter just going to stay down in P3. Nico trying to go defensive from Packer. Packer trying to go on the attack on the Spaniard. Goes for a little bit of a switchback going through turn 4. It's whoever's going to come out on top. Nico, massive bit of oversteer. QVR versus QVR, and it looks like Nico is going to be the one that comes out on top, although you can start to see that I think the Spaniard's tyres are starting to wear down quite significantly because Packer is just hounding the back of Nico.
And they're checking up in front as well then. Marcel and Old School getting up behind Matt Tebas. Old School had to tart out of the way in turn 8, not to hit the back of the AlphaTauri in front, but they keep it going then. Gary up to P2 on this lap. Nico on the defensive from Packer. You can see the medium starting to come into play, and Packer, well, if he wants to make this work, he's got to try and gain some places, otherwise he could get detached from the DRS train. See what Packer has further back then. The soft's just not working for him. He's lower battery as well. Knuth behind him will look to try and challenge. The DRS train still holds up. Gary though on the charge. He's only got 30% ERS, less than Killer Blue, but he's charging down. 1.3 seconds the gap then, so it's going to need a colossal effort from the Aston Martin man, but the former champion XL Gary will do all he can to get himself back within it. The DRS train intact just behind then. Marcel close to Matt Tebas, won't get through. Packer again trying to attack Nico, who holds on just in front for the moment then. So Packer will not go out. And again, Old School having to dart the way, and Matt Tebas is under pressure here. Marcel has compromised his line, heading through turns 2 and 3, and now through the exit to 4, but Matt Tebas uses it in response. Packer now alongside Nico inside a turn 4. Can he get the move done? Nico late on the brakes. Packer throws down the anchors on the inside, forces him out wide, and they're still fading into turn 6. Nico has to back out of it and does. Packer will get through the 8th place, so he gets past his QVR quote-unquote teammate, will say. He does get through, so Packer moves up, then Nico's got to try and just stay with him, make sure those tyres are still alive. Pit stops will come in the next few laps, you would think, but Packer through in the 8th has good pace here, and as Matt Tebas is still holding Marcel and Old School back, good opportunity for the American to get him up there and pick up some places. Great progress it would be against the soft runners.
It certainly would be. Nico just looks like he is starting to struggle massively on these soft tyres. He's now of course got Ewan all over the back, or starting to close up to the back of him, as well as the other medium runners. Knuth still just holding on to the back of E1 as well, trying to catch up of course to this little train. I say little train, it's a massive train that's in front, as Gary is out!
Out of turn 13, must have dropped it on throttle, didn't quite catch it, but XL Gary out of the race from 2nd place, and this changes everything up at the front end. Peter now back leading the train. 1.5 has happened to XL Gary. Heartbreaking start to the season. 2 men who've qualified so well now down in the field. Assassin inside reclaims the Peter he lost at the start of the race. Ahead of Peter Dunball. Can the AlphaTauri fight back though, as the safety car is brought out then from that crash from Gary? What drama here on the 7th lap. Killer Blue still leads, but everything's been shaken up now. Safety car around the pit window for the soft runner, so let's see what they do. Gary though out of the race, and well, there's 2 people I backed for the podium out of the running, not going well so far, but yeah, Gary and Nolan out of the way. Oh, you have to feel for both of them. That's heartbreaking for 2 men that were really looking good on their opening to the season.
Yeah, that's definitely heartbreaking for Gary, I know, and for Nolan as well, as you were saying. Both qualifying very, very well towards the front of the grid, and it's just not worked out for the pair of them. Assassin now back up into 2nd, Peter in 3rd, and Matt Tebas in 4th with Marcel in 5th. Killer is going to be kicking himself that safety car has come out, because he had a nice comfortable lead of about 2.5 seconds from all of that back scrapping that was going on behind him. They're now going to be all over the back of him when he catches up to that safety car. Of course, the guys that are on the set of softs, they're going to have to come in this lap, because otherwise it'd just be pointless for them. Well, it'd be stupid if they didn't come into the pits. The only thing that they're going to do, are they going to go on a set of the hards? Because it is only lap number 7. The only thing is, they'll have a couple of laps behind that safety car. So will it be enough for the mediums to go to the end of this race? Or will they go for a set of the hards, play it safe, and make sure that they have them tyres towards the end of the race, and maybe try and go for a bit of a late charge towards the end? Let's have a look. Killer into the pits. Assassin, Peter, Matt Tebas, CPI Marcel, Old School, all into the pits. Packer's even following them, so Packer's going to go for a set of the hards to go to the end of the race. Nico in, Iwan in, Knuth in, Mallet is in. Is Hardy also going to be following them in? Literally, I think everybody is coming into the pits. Yeah, Slash is in as well. Car Mentalist is only coming through turn 10, so he's going to be completely behind. But I'm sure that these 2 aren't going to be complaining of, well, Car Mentalist and Zaldama aren't going to be complaining that they have got a safety car, because they're, well, they are miles behind. Killer comes out on top, and Matt Tebas has somehow emerged in 2nd place, ahead of Peter and ahead of Assassin.
Assassin way down at P7. The pit stops completely shaking up the order here, so this is fascinating now. So how is this going to turn out? Well, we have got, I have to say, Jack, a very split field, which I was expecting, because under normal racing conditions, I'd say this is 1 lap too early to go onto the medium tyres. But with the laps behind the safety car, could swing in their favour. We'll see how it works, though. We'll see how the race pace is going to compare between the mediums and the hards. Matt Tibos up in second is a particular one because he's on those hard tyres. Got 3 medium runners behind him. Now, he has got... Oh, he nearly loses it through turn 8. We saw NSX Montana dropping it in the D1 race just out of this corner. Hopefully none of this doesn't happen to any of our drivers here in Division 2. But Matt Tibos, he's got a real task in his hands, and so do the rest of the hard runners, to keep temperature in those tyres. They're going to have a really difficult task here to get those tyres working so that on the restart they don't get swamped. With a closed field and a track that allows for overtaking, if your tyres are not in the window, you can get swamped on a safety car restart.
Yeah, you certainly can. I think the guys that have gone on a set of the mediums, I think that they should be fine to the end of the race. It's going to be tight, but as long as they've got good, decent tyre wear, shall I say, then I think, yeah, they can make those mediums to the end of the race. I think Killer's probably happy that Matt Tibos is the one that's come out behind him because of him being on those hard tyres. I mean, Matt Tibos, his pace so far has been very good in this race. It's just where he's now on a set of hard tyres, is he going to be able to try and keep behind Peter and Old School, all the while trying to keep up with Killer? He's going to be on a harder compounder tyre now, so it's even more of a task for him to try and keep up to the back of our current race leader of Killer.
Yeah, certainly. So let's see how that's going to unfold. I mean, Peter, Old School, Nico, they have got a real task on their hands. They know that Matt Tibos will be struggling. Peter, in particular, we've seen him with good pace all the way throughout the race so far. He's going to have to show some of that mettle when it comes to racecraft. We're getting through Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos, though, benefiting from that pit stop flurry. Maybe being Williams at the end of the pit lane has done him some good to get himself up into second position. So we'll see how that is going to unfold for him. You can see how this is unfolded, though, because Ariel Assassin down into P7 and a lot of work to do. Ewan Bakker is in front of him even. Now the second to top hard runner. And another storyline we've got to talk about is the medium runners further down the pack, Marcel / Zanima. They'll have to pace at least in the early laps on the hard runners. The question is, can they make those overtakes work? Because of course that advantage is going to gradually dissipate throughout the race. So those guys have got to get moving very early on. Ewan Bakker, Assassin, Knuth, all hard runners in the upper midfield at the moment. So those guys are going to try and defend, you'd suspect, keep those guys behind in the early laps. The medium runners will have the advantage early on, but once those hards will get up to temperature, they'll be reasonably competitive, definitely not at medium pace, but they'll be able to keep them behind. And so the restart is crucial for those medium runners low down the pack to get going early. Otherwise, they're going to have a long and very frustrating night ahead of them.
Yeah, they certainly will. The guys that are on a set of mediums, they just need to try and get past the hards as quick as they can. They need to just get away. As you said, these mediums are just going to start to drop off from about, I'd probably say, lap 23, and then I think the hard runners will then start to have that advantage. It's just if the medium runners can just do what they need to do, get away from the other hard runners, I think Killer's going to try and go maybe either as early as possible or as late as possible, because he wants to try and get the exit out of that final corner, but at the same time, he knows if he goes, Matt Tibos won't have the traction to go. The only thing is then that leaves Peter to try and get a move done on Matt Tibos at this restart. Old School as well, we can't forget about him and Nico. I mean, Old School's done very well so far, sitting in P4. Killer already going before the final corner. Is the safety car going to be in on time, though? That's the thing. You can see that safety car's pulled off to the right, and I think he has just gotten away with it. So very good start from him. And saying that, Peter, as I said, he's been caught well off guard. Peter's now already trying to go down the inside of Matt Tibos in towards turn number 1, and I believe he may try and get this move done. I think he has gotten that move done. Matt Tibos, nothing that he could really do, and he's now going to be under pressure from Old School. You can already see the disadvantage from these guys that are on a set of the hard. CPI and Marcel already trying to go for a move on QVR Packer as well for that P9 position. Packer, nothing that he can do either, and gets that move done. Knuth trying to go down the inside of Assassin, and Old School getting that move done on Matt Tibos for that P3 as well. Knuth and Assassin still both going at it side by side. Knuth going to try and hold it down the inside into turn number 6 to turn number 7. Assassin will have that inside, and there you go. Knuth will bang in between the pair of them. Knuth still trying to hold it down the inside. The two Germans both going at it, and I think Knuth's just going to have to back out of that one. Assassin, great defensive work, but look at the gap Killer already got from that restart.
It was brilliantly timed. He stole a march from the field, and Matt Tibos was caught napping down in the 4th place. Great lunge from Old School to nab that 3rd position as well. Heading into turn 4, CPR Marcel's trying to get a move on then, up behind Knut. Can't quite get the move done though. Heading into turn 11, has to bide his time and wait. So now they start to settle down after the restart. Then everyone looking to try and get them those tires switched on. Anyone back or Assassin Knut. They've all done well to hold on at the moment. Packer though dropping back behind CPR Marcel, who's now on the move then, chasing down Knut towards turn 14 to the inside line. Can he break later? He's going to try and hold it down the inside, and Knut is out wide then. Low on grip is the Alfa Romeo, and now the Williams of QVR Packer is right on him as well, heading down towards turn 1 then to the inside line is Knut. Is Packer going to go even deeper? Is he going to get it right on the brakes? And he's going to be careful of Marcel in front, but Packer controlled, composed on the brakes, but the Alfa Romeo not giving up just yet. Inside line through turn 2, outside through 3, on the outside is Packer, and in the end has to give it up then, was forced off the track. Knut get through, Marcel fainting Assassin doesn't get through just yet. They also need to like Knut holding on in front of QVR Packer, as still the race continues as Zaunemer gets thrown Hardy as well further down the field up in a 13th position. Carmental is just in front in the last points paid possession. Killer Blue though still on the march, 1.8, nearly 2 seconds in front. He's been imperious tonight, got the restart right. You mentioned how frustrated he'd be with the safety car. Has it got to him? Killer Blue leads, and leads comfortably at that.
He's almost got on that gap from where the safety car had come out, and that was already just 2 laps ago now. So Killer, he's doing a stellar job up the front of the field. Peter doing well, keeping Old School behind him, as well as Matt Tibos, just keeping up with these guys on the mediums. Nico, I think, desperately wants to try and get past the Williams driver. Of course, he's not trying to use up any ERS. He's just going to sit behind him for now, try and not make sure that he doesn't fade off too much from those medium runners in front of him. But he's going to try and just, you know, play it patiently, which is a smart move to do. And then as soon as that DRS gets activated, he's just going to go straight on the attack and go for that move. And I think, as I say, with the DRS being open, well, being enabled now, we won't have it on this straight, but we'll have it on that next little straight after turn 3. Are we going to see the Spaniard try and go for a move? Marcel going for a move on Assassin into turn 1, and these medium... Oh, well, as I said, the medium runners need to try and get through quick time, just so then they don't avoid the charge from the hard runners. CPR Marcel is doing exactly that, as Hardy picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. But Marcel is doing exactly that. He's just charging through these hard runners and just trying to get the gaps on them to make sure that they do not have that advantage come towards the end of the race. And Nico still just holding on to the back of Matt Tibos, coming through turn number 7 now. Sorry, turn number 8 even. And yeah, the Spaniard just... As I said, he's just chilling behind him for now. Going to wait and then pounce as soon as he can. And same with Old School. Old School just playing this patiently as well.
Yeah, these guys all sat behind then and waiting for that DRS to come into play then. But Matt Tibos has done a good job so far of staying within that DRS. The question is, for how much longer can he hold on to that gap? Already 8.5 tenths, and Nico will look to capitalise as Cerisi drops out. Old School though, ready and raring to pounce. He's got more battery than Peter up in front of him and showing great race pace here. So Old School really coming alive at this stage in the race then. Lap 12 at the moment, still a long way to go here in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Killer Blue leads the way, just over 2 seconds in front, and I think that Old School is looking to shape up a move here. Now he's going to get the DRS, and is Peter going to try and fight it? He's not going to overtake Old School well, and I don't think there's going to be much of a fight. Old School to the inside, Old School to P2 and the Red Bull. Peter drops back, and it's Hardy round in the last corner, must have dropped it on the throttle, so Hardy round and capping off a nightmare evening for him so far in Division 2. Not the debut test season he was after in the slightest, but Old School through to P2 then, behind Killer Blue in front of Peter, and Matt Tibos now has dropped out that DRS just about, so now it's Nico's turn to get on the offensive, and he's going to move quickly because Marcel behind is flying up to the back of him on Backer. The AlphaTauri man is cruising through the field at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job of just, as I said, he needs to just try and dispose of those hard runners. He's almost got on that gap from Assassin. He just needs another 2 attempts to try and get that gap out. Hardy going for another spin at turn number 4. Not a good night, of course, for him at all. I think Killers must have just made a bit of a mistake because Old School now only 1.6 seconds behind Killer. And yeah, I think Killer must have just made some sort of mistake because Peter's just managed to keep up with Old School as well. But Old School is absolutely flying at the moment. I said the Division 3 champion I thought might have been maybe in the midfield of this Division 2 grid, but he is completely proving me wrong right now. And honestly, there's nothing I like better than anyone trying to prove me wrong. But Old School, he's doing a sublime job in second position at the moment. And as well, Nico all over the back of Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos, I think, again, it's going to be inevitable that the Spaniard is going to get past him. There you go, Old School, fastest lap of the race. It is his jungle. It's his jungle for a reason. It's why he's already up into second place and starting to catch up to Killer.
And down the inside goes Seabear Marco. He's going to run into Matimos. Big crash in turn one then. And now it's just Marcel just a bit too over-eager on the brakes. And Matt Tibos, the leading hard runner, right to the back of the train then. That is so costly for his race. So heartbreaking for the Williams then. Marcel tried to dive it. It's so risky when you're in a train to go for a late lunge. Tried to move and he's given himself damage, I think, for his troubles as well. So in the end, just a misguided overtaking attempt. Nothing malicious, I don't think. But Marcel runs into Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos down at the back of the field. And for the man that was right at the front then, that one incident sets him back down in the 12th place. And on those hards that have now been spun up, long way to go for Matt Tibos. That is an absolutely heartbreaking moment for the Williams man.
Yeah, Knuth as well though. He's getting overtaken by the other Williams of Packer. So one Williams... Well, very happy obviously with what's going on at the moment. The other Williams, unfortunately, it's just not working out for him. Packer gets that move done on Knuth for that P8 spot. Knuth just looked like he's been struggling since being on these hard tyres to the point where he's now out of DRS from Assassin. Packer needs to try and do a bit of a mission to try and get back in that DRS of Assassin. And you can see he almost is, but he's having to burn off that ERS to make sure he gets himself back in there. And I think he's just missed out on the detection point. However, coming into the second little DRS straight, I'm sure we'll see the American back within the DRS. Marcel trying to go for maybe a move on E1 coming into turn number one. No, he's thought better of obviously what happened on that last lap. E1 though gets a bit of a bad run out of turn number two, and you can see Marcel just getting a much better run out of there. I don't think he actually picked up any damage because he looks like he's still running quite well. Hardy another spin at the exit of sector 2 beginning of sector 3, and E1 trying to go for a bit of a switchback on Marcel for this P5 spot. E1's just going to have to settle behind him, however, and well, yeah, that sort of move done once again. Peter just keeping up to the back of Old School. It's another Division 3 battle from last season. Old School though, just the one that's leading out on top of these guys as Matt Tibos has gone for a spin and is into the wall and out of the session. So it went from bad to worse for the Williams driver, and now there is a virtual safety car just for all of us to recuperate. And in fact, there's a full safety car because Hardy has come into the pits and retired from the session. So I think that's the first time in this we have seen it go from a virtual safety car to a full core safety car. And the guys that are on, well, Killer once again not going to be happy that another safety car has come out. Again, gets that lead of 2.2 seconds, played that sublimely. And now that's just going to be completely ruined. And Old School, I know he's not wonderful for any sort of tricks. He's going to be urging to try and pounce on his former teammate from Season 3.
Certainly, of course, these guys, former teammates, now rivals. Now, what are the strategies going to be like? You suspect there's going to be pit stops further down the field, but of course, these race leaders do not want to be giving up that track position. Marcel, the first to the pit lane, he went back or does not follow him then. Packer is into the box there just behind, and I think just about everyone else behind will be going in as well. So that is the status quo, 5 cars to the pit lane. And so that is how it stands at the moment. So we're going to have 4 medium runners at the front, then 3 hard runners, and then a slew of cars looking to get in and amongst it then. So who's going to be out in front then? I think Packer, well, he's a bit laggy in his pit box, but he does emerge. He'll be behind Slash's AI car. Unfortunately, Slash has, I believe, disconnected from the session. So Packer will emerge just behind that, followed by Maledictus, Carmentalus, Marcel, and then Zairma, who will get out. And because of the attrition in this race, only one driver now at the moment is going home without points. So we'll see how that is going to be, but points certainly on offer for the entire field. Killer Blue leads the way, but now there's a mix-up in strategy. Packer at 9th is the leading fresh medium runner, but with so many cars to get through, I still think those guys in the top 3 have enough in hand to hold back the American. We'll see though.
Yeah, I think it's more the case that the Packer, I mean, he can probably get past, well, Slash is an AI car, so that's already one position he can probably get past. Knuth, he was battling with the same with Assassin. He was sort of within that little fight between those two guys as well. So with him just being on those fresh medium tyres as well, I can only really sort of see Packer getting past both of those guys, even E1 as well. He could try and challenge his fellow QVR teammate again as well. It's just whoever's going to come out on top, and if Packer can do that as quick as possible, as clean as possible as well, then yeah, I'm sure we'll see a cracking battle for this final podium position, or, well, for the podium entirely, because we can't particularly rule out Old School, we can't particularly rule out Peter. Of course, Killer's been doing a sublime job just leading this the entire way through, and unfortunately, again, he's going to have to try and pull off an absolute masterclass restart like he did under the first safety car. It's just whether he's going to be able to do it again, and if he does, well, I suppose the rest of the guys behind him, it's going to be a bit of a challenge for them to try and keep up, but Killer, unfortunately for him, he's put out about 4.5 seconds, nearly 5 seconds in total, and that's just now been completely ruined.
Further back down the order, Knuth, who was, I believe, the last of the guys that had it pitted, he has died to the pit lane, so he's going for medium tyres there going on, so he's maybe thinking that it's going to be better off with those fresh mediums. Let's see how that's going to unfold then. So he emerges back in 13th position, of course, net 12th really, with Slash's AI car. But yeah, back up front, I'm really excited to this safety car restart. Killer Blue and Old School, two of the most experienced drivers in this race, and we're going to see how things are going to unfold at the front there. Killer Blue, we saw how it worked in, and the reason he got such a big jump on that last restart was because Peter ran a very short, narrow line into the final corner, which I think Killer Blue noticed and then completely put it on. I think Peter was expecting Killer to run it all the way down the long straight, but in the end he went early, took advantage of that, and that's what the drivers are going to have to be doing. They're going to have to watch each other's movements, see where they're positioned on the track, and Old School's got to be wary he doesn't get caught out in a position like Peter did. So he's got to make sure he's always on the right line so he doesn't allow Killer Blue to get a big jump. But Killer Blue, what's he going to go with this time, I wonder? Old School up behind him then, he's going to look for a way through, but Killer Blue leading the way. He's nailed one safety car restart already tonight. Can he make it another?
Well, let's find out, because I think the safety car is going to be in this lap. Knuth has just caught up to the back of this safety car train, so yeah, I'm sure the safety car will be in at the end of this lap, and we'll see if Killer is going to be able to do another masterclass of a safety car restart. There you go, just as confirmation, safety car is going to be in this lap, so we'll keep our eyes out on the British driver and see if he's going to be able to pull off, as I said, another masterclass restart. Old School, though, as I said, he is not one for taking any BS, and I know that he is going to be as close to the back of Killer as possible. He's going to wait and just I think he has a bit more of an instinct as to when he goes, and there you go, Killer already going once again. Old School, he has realised it though, he has realised it, but yeah, Peter I think actually got the better exit out of that final corner from Old School. Old School I think got a little bit too close to the back of him. Mala getting past the ghost of Slash, so Mala now up in the way for Packer into 7th, and already going for that move on Assassin. Assassin did not get a very good restart, and the American going down the inside into turn 1. The German's just going to have to back out, and Assassin back down into 7th position now from that safety car restart. Not a very good start from him. Peter though still all over the back of Old School, but it doesn't look as if there's been any actual changes throughout the rest of this grid. It's just whoever's going to be the one that comes out on top through whoever can just sort of keep their tyres intact. I think for the medium runners that didn't pit, I think it's just helped them even more. The guys that have gone onto the set of the mediums, I think they're the ones that we need to try and keep our eye out on, especially Packer, who's the leading one and is now all over the back of E1 Baker.
Already one position on the restart. Packer, we saw him get past Assassin. Now he's on the back of E1, who gets it all locked up in a turn 10, and that's over the door for the Williams alongside and through. QVR Packer already to the top 5, flying through the order, and that kind of restart has set him up beautifully for the end of the race. He's got 4 drivers on older medium tyres right up in front of him in DRS when it gets activated. Packer up to P5, podium in the offer. Can he possibly get up to Killer Blue? It seems unlikely, but he's got fresher tyres. Packer flying, QVR Nico, and we've seen the exploits, the battles between these two. Don't think they're going to go lying down. Nico is not giving up that P4 without a fight.
No, he definitely isn't. Again, it's a battle between these two guys once again. Old School still not out of that 1 second from... not out of the 1 second from Killer Blue. So he's doing a good job as well, just keeping it up with our current race leader. And in fact, he's actually catching up to the back of him. So Old School, Again, it's not played in favour of Killer whatsoever, and Nico also dropping out of that DRS from Peter, so he won't have DRS on the next lap. Of course, DRS not going to be activated because it's only the second lap under from the safety car, but yeah, I mean, Nico, he's going to need to get a bit of a move on, a bit of a shift, if he wants to try and catch back up to him. Zaldama getting past Marcel for that P10 spot, and Marcel has actually had to go on a set of the hard tyres in comparison to the mediums that everybody else is pretty much on, and Knuth all over the back of him. I think actually tapped the back of Marcel, and Knuth now back up into 11th position. A little bit of a scrap going on a little bit further up ahead as well. Carmentalist, Maledictus and Assassin all scrapping with Ewan Baker and with Ewan as well to try and get that 6th position. But really it's just DRS trains galore, but they're all separated.
Yeah, certainly the field becoming a bit segmented. That's when you see the different tyre strategies coming into play, and Nico in particular is really having to work. The blistering pace of Killer Blue is stringing this field out at the moment from the front of the race, and Backpacker now sat on the back of Nico, and you can see it when Backer and Assassin. These guys have the slowest tyres in the entire field then, so they can expect to come under pressure. First from QVR Maledictus, is having a good night so far after a difficult qualifying. Assassin is tucked in underneath the rear wing of Ewan Baker. He wants to get on with this quickly then, trying to chase him down up towards turn 1, but not near enough to charge him on the brakes. Then Packer right with Nico as well then, looking for any which way through. DRS now active, ERS flowing for Packer now, gets alongside, and Nico's not going to fight this one. He knows that it's a done deal, and through goes the Williams up in a P4. Further down the order, no real changes though. Ewan's able to stay in front of Assassin. Assassin fends off Maledictus. Maledictus sees off Carmentalist, but Maledictus is getting ever closer to the Ferrari in front of turn 8. Looks to the inside, no move yet, but these guys now all fainting, jostling, looking for moves. Killer Blue, he's done well in the restart, but not well enough. Killer Blue not able to get away from Old School, and Peter's still with it as well. Peter though struggling, so isn't now potentially turning into a 2-horse race. We'll see if Peter can try and get back on terms, but Killer leading the way, but Old School not going away. The Bahrain specialist is not letting go of a race win here.
I'm looking forward to this at the end of this race. Old School versus Killer Blue. Who would have thought that? I'm not going to lie, as I said, Old School completely proving me wrong at the moment, and I am very happy that he is proving me wrong. He is doing a sublime job in that second position and keeping up to the back of Killer. And in fact, he will have the DRS. He's had to use a bit of his ERS to try and keep up, but then again, so is Killer Blue, just to try and get away. But it's not phased Old School, and you can see how much he's closing up to the back of Killer with that DRS. Of course, he's not going to be close enough to get any sort of move done in towards turn number 1, but we might see in the next couple of laps, maybe Old School, if he can get the run out of a few of these corners, he may be able to get some sort of move done a little bit further down the field. Though Carmentalist and Maledictus both going at it. Relentless versus QVR, and the QVR Portuguese driver comes out on top. Ewan also under pressure from Assassin, just sort of weaving just to make sure that Assassin doesn't get any slipstream from him. Assassin trying to go down the inside into turn 4, no sort of move done. Relentless Carmentalist still being relentless behind Maledictus and just cannot get a move done. Maledictus doing some very good defending as well, and a nice helicopter shot of there. Maledictus going straight down the inside of Assassin in towards turn number 8, and a little bit of wheel banging between the pair of them, but Mala, what a move from him, gets the move done, and now up into 7th position. He's now between the two hard runners, and that's going to put Carmentalist a bit of a disadvantage because he needs to get past them to try and keep up with Maledictus. Assassin, I think, under pressure now from Carmentalist, and going to go down the inside into turn 11, gets the move done, goes Carmentalist. Nice move from the Brit in the McLaren, and now he's going to try and chase down Maledictus once again. Maledictus all over the back of his fellow Alpine of Iwan as well, and is just seeing if he's going to come out on top. Iwan, I think, again, it's going to be inevitable that the Portuguese driver is going to get past. Is Carmentalist going to try and get past, though, in towards turn number 1? And as I said, further up on the field, Packer, he's caught up to the back of Peter, and Packer is on a mission.
He certainly has been, and he's up by Peter, who to his credit has managed to stick with the top 2. Maledictus now attacking you. This is the best I've seen from him in a long time. Goes outside the turn 1, won't get through just yet, but he'll look for the switchback. Heading into turn 2, Assassin and Zernema fighting in behind the Ferrari, just now being able to keep in front, and now towards turn 4. Ewan defending up in front. Packer inside of Peter to P3 is the Williams. It's a race victory on here. Down the field then, Carmentalist outside of Maledictus can't get the run though to turn 6, and the Alpine just about holds on. He went back trying to stay in front. Then he goes Peter's round. Peter round at turn 6. Not sure if that was on his own contact. Maledictus sliding through 8. Then Carmentos will get through. Maledictus all over the road. Assassin gets through. So Maledictus a couple of places down now. Carmentos is in this. Peter dropping back from the lead quartet now as Nico tries to get back to it as well as Carmentos now inside of Iwan Backer gets through and Maledictus trying to get back to Assassin, doesn't get through, and Carmentos has taken advantage of all of that, gets through into P6 and now chasing down Peter. All of a sudden a quiet mediocre race for Carmentos has turned into a potential top 5 finish for the McLaren man.
It certainly has, and Iwan's just all over the place coming out of the end of Sector 2, beginning of Sector 3, out of the penultimate corner, shall I say. Maledictus, despite making up all of that progress, he's now just basically been put back behind these hard tyres. And yeah, there you go for the lead of the race. Old School down the inside of Killer Blue. Killer now going to be second in. Oh, Packer going into the back of him as well. Packer getting himself wing damage. Packer was not expecting that little touch between the pair of them. Packer now losing part of his front wing. Nico is now going to try and capitalise on that. He would have seen the front wing flying off of the back of the American's car, so he's now going to just try and catch back up to him. You can see the understeer that Packer is getting. It was very unfortunate for him, but the two old teammates of Old School and Killer having that little bit of contact, and there you go. Packer just has to cut across that entire chicane. Nico now up into third, and Packer, unfortunately for him, what was a good race from him so far, now down into 4th position. Absolute drama at the front of the field.
That was quite remarkable then. Again, a bit of a train reaction then. Old School moving cause a massive incident down at the hairpin. Maledictus and Knuth getting collected. Didn't see that, just the aftermath, but they're both around now. Back into 11th and 12th, but Packer will surely have to pit and drop back unless he's going to try and soldier on with that damage to the end. What chaos we are now seeing, and that incident with Packer has now segregated this field now, and now you have to say Old School and Killer Blue 2 seconds to meet Nico. Now it's a fade on that 2-horse race. Killer Blue trying to get back to Old School. Now the fate's really on at the front of the race.
Well, Packer does not come in. In fact, he's actually defending from Carmentalist. Carmentalist, though, running low on ERS. He's going to have a bit of a disadvantage. However, he's got the advantage of the DRS. I don't think Packer's going to try and fight this one too hard. I say that. He's trying to hold it down the inside of the Brit, but I think the American's just going to have to let that one go. Carmentalist now up into 4th position, and a bit of a battle going on. Assassin and Ewan Baker both going at it as well. Assassin going to be attacked from Iwan as well, and I think Iwan's just going to go down the inside towards turn number 4. Assassin leaves him just enough room, and Iwan, I don't think was expecting that. Oh, Assassin trying to hold that around the outside. Does very nicely, does the German, keeping that position. Peter now all over the back of Packer and goes very, very wide out of turn 7.
Yeah, I think he got into the back of Packer a little bit, tried to avoid, and that's why you saw him going off the road then. But Peter now attacking QVR. Packer runs it out wide, just can't get the car stopped and through. Goes the AlphaTauri, recovering to 5th after the spin, and now running in that position. And Carmentos just ahead in 4th. Looking though towards the front, actually I would, as now Packer continuing to drop back. Assassin now through. Ewan Backer trying to get up and alongside towards turn 11, but Marcel is holding it as well. Goes outside, and he's going to try and get that one done, but Packer is going to block him over on the outside, then the 3, then finally we get an end. And as Ewan Backer gets just in front then, they're all having to dodge and weave around the stricken Williams car, the crippled Williams car, sending him nearly into the back of Marcel. But they do just settle down, or do they? I'm still keeping half an eye on the leading battle, still led by Old School. Up at the front of the race, Marcel now attacking Ewan Backer, flies down the main straight to go P7, then in front of the Alpine, who has to slow it behind. Zerma behind in 9th. What chaos! We need to try and slow this down. And the battle up the front is still raging on. Old School from Killer Blue, 2.3 seconds clear. This is the fight for the win now. It's going to come down to these two. Old School leads, but Killer Blue, who's led so much of this race, hounding the Red Bull. This is going to go right down to the wire.
This is absolute chaos from this restart of that safety car. Packer, unfortunately for him, it was running so well for the American, and just going into the back of Killer has now just, well, he's now down in 10th position with a bit of a broken front wing, and he's going to be on the threat from another fellow QVR driver of his very, very soon. Zadama now just trying to push through these hard runners. I don't know if the Red Bull driver is going to be able to get anything done. He's trying his hardest, however, it just doesn't look as if he's trying to sort of force any sort of moves. I think he's waiting for maybe a mistake from any of these guys, but I think he's also just trying to make sure he keeps it on track himself. But he's doing a good job of just making sure he is putting pressure on these hard tyre drivers. And Ewan now out of DRS from the other two hard runners. Marcel all over the back of Assassin once again, and Assassin all over the back of Peter. So I think we're starting to see these crossover for these hards and medium tyres, because Assassin is looking a lot quicker now, as Old School and Killer Blue both changing positions once again. Old School just having to dip behind the Mercedes driver, and now a little bit further down the field once again Assassin going down the inside of Peter. Marcel also going to go down the inside of Peter. Marcel trying to go down the inside of Assassin. A little bit of contact I think it was between the pair of them, but Marcel does manage to hold off from Peter. Peter though trying to go again on a move for his AlphaTauri driver, AlphaTauri teammate shall I say, tries to go down the inside. In fact he holds it down the inside. Marcel, a little bit of contact between the pair of them, and Marcel has to give that place up. I'm not too sure why Peter was trying to fight it that hard. I think Peter, his tyres are starting to die off, and he could see that, and Marcel was all over the back of Assassin, so that's just going to cost them even more time and even more points, because I think that both of them could probably even get past Assassin, if not both of them, at least one of them.
Yes, certainly, but of course they're fighting inter-team at the moment, still keeping half an eye though on the leading fight, and it was Killer Blue who gets to the front. I always say, battles for the lead like this between two cars, it's less of a battle and more of a 200-mile-an-hour game of chess. It's still the AlphaTauri's going at it, this time Peter on the inside of Marcel trying to hold on to the place. They go side by side through turn 12, nearly touching, nearly coming together, but it is in the end Peter who holds on then, just in front then. These guys now absolutely going at it with everything they've got. Marcel now so low on battery, going to the inside into turn 14, gets the move done. They both have DRS, and both are drained of ERS. So Zaruma will try to take advantage of this. Too far away though. Peter coming back. These guys fighting furiously on the track then. Peter looks the inside, forces Marcel to break late. They almost come together. I think Marcel will just about have enough to hold it this time though, as they come off of turn 3. I think, yes, Marcel just in front of his teammate. What fighting between these two, and you wouldn't know that they were teammates. They went at it so much, it's allowed Assassin to hold on in front. Marcel now going through, and he's going to be furiously now on the back of the Ferrari, you'd suspect.
Yeah, this is going to be very tight towards the end of this race as well. Zardeman trying to go down the inside of Peter in towards turn number 8. Zardeman, I think this is the most aggressive I've seen him try and get all race long, and he's now still side by side with his fellow Dutchman. Around the outside goes the Red Bull driver into turn 10. Is he going to be able to hold on to that one? Peter just hold that inside, but I think he might be able to get something done. Iwan just behind goes a little bit too deep into turn 10, but yeah, there you go. There goes Zaldemar up into 7th position now, and he's going to try and chase down Marcel and try and chase down Assassin. Marcel, I said, if they weren't fighting, Marcel could try and get past Assassin. Look how much he's caught back up to the back of him, and Zaldemar also trying to catch up to the back of him. Peter picking up the first penalty in this race, and Peter, I know he's notorious for it, but I wasn't expecting we maybe even see a penalty for this evening around Bahrain. I know it's not an easy track to pick up any penalties. We're now on to the penultimate lap of this race, and Old School, he's still only half a second behind Killer. Marcel getting that move done eventually now on Assassin. So Marcel now up into 5th position and the leading hard runner. He's got 8 lap younger hards in comparison to Assassin. So Marcel doing a decent job there as well. Nico's starting to close up to the back of Old School, interestingly enough, as well. The Spaniard might be trying to fancy his chances at a look for this race win. A very late chance at that, but I don't know if he's going to try and close up to him. You can just see he's starting to close up to him ever so slightly. Packer setting the fastest lap of the race and will get that extra point if he does finish this race, because there are only now 12 drivers that are left within this race. The Slash is an AI, but what a battle this has been so far, Dan.
And it's not over yet, lap and a half to go. And like I said, the game of 200-mile-an-hour chess now drawing to its conclusion. It's Killer Blue that's managed to get the better of Old School so far. They're almost equal on ERS. Old School with a very slight advantage will have the DRS on the final lap as well. So here we go. This is it now. Old School now burning that battery, trying to get within range. He knows the battle is going to be settled on these straights towards turn 1 and turn 4. So how is Descott Artfield. He went back with a penalty as well. Half a second in hand for Killer Blue. Old School now with DRS trying to close all the time. It's 4-10s, it's 3-10s, but it might not quite be enough. Killer Blue has enough in hand and doesn't even need to defend. Could that be it then? As he headed through turn 1, Killer just needs a good, solid exit here. Old School trying to get back to him. He's using all the battery he can. It's 3-10s, it's 2-10s, but it's not enough for the Red Bull. Killer Blue sees him off. That may have been the last chance for Old School. He's 3-10s behind, waiting for a way through. Killer Blue has burnt most of his battery. He's less than 20% trying to hold on. Old School throwing everything at him at the moment, but still 4-10s to the good. It's Killer Blue as they headed off at turn 8 and half a lap to go. Killer leads Old School, and I think unless he can get through in a turn 11, this may well be it, Jack. Then as they run it on towards the back straight, then Old School giving it everything. Peter out on the last lap of the race at turn 7. Killer holds it at turn 11, and I think unless a miracle comes through, Old School cannot quite get back to the Mercedes, man.
He did see that little red flashing light on the back of Killer's car, though. It's whoever gets the better exit out of this corner. If Killer gets the better exit, which it looks like he might have done, Old School, he's just a little bit too far back. He's going to drain every bit of ERS that he can into this, but he's not going to be close enough. What a battle it was between those two guys, the two old teammates in Season 3, but it is going to be Killer who will win the first round of Season 6 in Division 2. Old School, give yourself an absolute pat on the back coming in second. Nico, in the end, does finish on the podium. Car Mentalist does finish in 4th. Marcel from 5th. Assassin in 6th. Zaldemar did not manage to get past Assassin in the end. It was only a 10th behind him, but does finish in 7th. Ivan, with that 3-second time penalty, drops down into 8th as well. Maledictus in 9th. Knuth will finish in 10th. Packer will finish 11th. And Peter on the final lap, I actually saw what happened on the final lap. He went around at turn 7. I think just went a bit too... Oh, well, he just had that massive spin, and it just caused him to DNF. Well, it just caused his front wing, but then I think he actually DNF'd on track. So again, not something we want to see, especially on the final lap, and especially for any sort of points for him. But Car Mentalist picking up the in-game driver of the day. I've got to say, those top two were going at it. They were neck and neck for the entirety of that, and oh my goodness, what a race it came to in the end.
That was quite brilliant. I loved that all the way through. Quite a bit of incident, I won't lie, so hopefully that does get tidied up a bit heading into the next race in USA. But yeah, my word, what a fight between those two experienced old heads who know their way around this track without a doubt. And in the end, it was Killer Blue who, on balance, you have to say, probably the more deserved winner. He led the majority of it, had to put up with a lot of adversity with those safety cars, and in the end, brings it home from Old School in second place. And Nico, a surprise return to the podium from 8th and 9th to 2nd and 3rd. Old School and Nico. Car Mentalist probably wasn't expecting this in the slightest, as 4th on track from Marcel and Assassin. AlphaTauri and Ferrari 5th and 6th. Then Zonema coming from 12th to 7th. Iwan Bakker from 10th to 8th. Maledictus from pretty much dead last gets into the top 10. Such was the attrition of this race. Knuth rounds out the top 10. Then it was Packer slashes AI car, crosses 12th. Peter, because he did complete 90% of the race, will probably get some points for that. But yes, that is going to be it. They're your finishers. Not many indeed for the race. It's Killer Blue, Old School, Nico your podium. What a way to kick off the season. So competitive through there. These guys all going at it on track. Can't wait to see what's next up.
We certainly can't wait as well. Do you want to try and get those top 3 in? Because I think we have got a few podium interviews that we need to do, and I'm sure we will be hearing about that battle between those two guys up at front with Killer and Old School. And of course Nico, and maybe a few little battles that were going on, of course, between himself and his fellow QVR driver of Packer. Again, what a shame it was for Packer, but I suppose that is the way that it does go. Yeah, we'll see if we can get a few of these guys into the party now. And
Well, that's going to be very, very fascinating, and yes, certainly kicking off his season well. But we do know he does like this track at Bahrain, so getting on the podium probably not overly surprising, it must be said. But nevertheless, great drive from all of our podium guys. It's going to be great to hear from then down the line. Just trying to get these guys invited. I hope you do know it can take a little while. Race Weather has joined us though. Killer Blue 295, not 195. That keeps on confusing me. But congratulations to you, sir. I guess I'll hand over to Jack to run through and hear your thoughts after that race.
Well, Killer, that looked like that was an absolute strain. How are you feeling after that, my friend?
I am drowning in a puddle of sweat. That second safety car nearly ruined me. I was chilling. I was vibing up front. I had a nice little second gap, and there was a couple of attempts at lap quicker than Mark. And I was like, if I keep that up, he's not going to get in my DRS. I'm fine. And then the second safety car came out, and I was adamant that I'd lost that race then, because I knew there were going to be guys on fresh tyres. I knew how quick Mark is at Bahrain. It was just pure sweat. I'd have to consult with the calendar, but I'm not expecting too much from USA or Silverstone, which I know are coming up soon. Russia, I think, might be one that I fare a little better with, because I won there last season. So I've always liked Russia, even though most people seem to hate it. But yeah, I'm not expecting too much from the next few races. But then I wasn't expecting much from tonight. I said before, like the amount of mistakes and spins. I crashed in the France social race. I crashed out of the China pre-season race. I crashed out of the Abu Dhabi pre-season race. If I'd finished this race and got points, I would have been happy. I was expecting nothing from this. So to get a pole and a win is absurd. And so, with the mindset I took into this race, I don't expect much from what's to come. But I think I can't take myself seriously if I say that after what happened today.
Yeah, just quickly run us through the process of that race, because obviously you seem to have a great edge over the field for the majority of it, but obviously Old School pushing you towards the end. Just run you through your thought processes, particularly on those safety car restarts that wiped out the leads that you built up.
I had a clear instinct of what I was going to do with those, because I think common sense would have been go on the line, but the later you leave it, the less margin you give yourself for surprise, and the more predictable you are to the person behind if you just go right on the line. So I thought, what can I do? I can go right in the braking zone of the last corner, because if you accelerate then they're not expecting it, and then if you just nail the launch off the last corner, where you can almost just accelerate from that. If you take a slow in approach to the corner, you can almost just accelerate all the way through onto the straight. And I thought that would catch him off guard if I go in the middle of the braking zone, and it did, because the first restart I had a lead of over a second by the start-finish line, and the second one I think I got a jump of about 7 or 8 tenths on Old School. So yeah, that was my thought process: just go when it was least expected, where I felt I could maximise the advantage. I didn't think I was going to get that if I went all the way to the line.
I did know you were going to do it. But I even said in the party, why would he be warming his tyres up so much if he was going to go on the straight? I'm just old and just don't have very good reaction time. I mean, I should be ecstatic, but I don't know. It's an odd one because it's a tale of two bottled last corners. I bottled, but in quali and in the last, I basically had him on strings, which really is what annoyed me. I was purposely leaving 2 tenths out of the last corner every time to give him the idea that he could push away, and it was all planned. Neo, shout out to him, was calling it for me, and I just bottled the last corner. And I just couldn't get close enough. I had a slight margin on hers, but to be fair, I think it'd have been unfair if anyone else won that race, because he absolutely smashed everyone, and I was in cruise mode. Like, I was just trying to keep Nico and Peter. I was trying to keep Peter at one point in my just so Packer didn't jump up the train, but they're all not as talented, so it was tough. Like, I ended up losing them a bit. Yeah, it was a tough one. I think he was playing possum. In the end, because Nico was right back at us. But it was mad because me and Nico were around each other the whole race, and I think we'd have took 2 and 3. But yeah, it was great. 18 points on Gary. I can't put a percentage. I can't put a percentage amount on how many more points than I've got than Gary. That's crazy, right?
Mathematically impossible.
It's mathematically impossible. I mean, this is great. I'm enjoying this. This is fantastic. We know who the number 1 Aston driver is, right?
Oh my god.
Well, we all know that Bahrain is your jungle, but what about the next race we have in USA? Of course, probably not quite as much of a pad track, so how do you expect your chances around there?
I have the finesse of Maldonado. The drink, I'm going to look as drunk as Kimmy on a Sunday evening, and I am going to be as popular as Mazepin when I break through the S section and cause about 6 wing damages. So, yeah, I'll probably be 12 just because of the amount of retirements, because of how useless this division is. But I don't expect much from me.
That's a great triple analogy. I'm behind that.
You pre-planned that, Mark?
No. I've just had half a beer already. Like, I'm second. I'm excited.
Hey, you got a fun here. Well, it was interesting. I bought the quali hard, and I started 9th, probably the worst place you want to start, really. But I don't know how I made my way, really. I was trying to keep a low profile. The guys in the straights were so rapid, and I just couldn't really keep up with them. But I kept my head cold, and I just drove my race. And up to one point, I saw that I was getting quicker and quicker and quicker. And when Packer came by and the second safety car, it all happened. That was unlucky for him. Heads up to him from here, but yeah, just trying to keep a low profile in the race and drive my race. Quite the opposite to Mark, I think. if we're serious. Yeah.
Originally for yourself, obviously second time around, I think I suppose you probably say that you got quite lucky with that. Was it when you got past Packer into third? Was you trying to catch up to those leaders, or was you just trying to sort of cruise on by and just try and take the final podium position?
Well, it was a mix of both, as you said. It was quite stressful. It's always stressful to have someone on newer, fresh tires catching up so fast and being Packer. Packer is someone that plays hard, and once that the position, it was hard, and I gave it up eventually. But when I passed him, I saw it clear that it was third. I stabilized the gap with Aiden, and I was trying to build up my own race. And up to that point, when I had a battery, I knew I was losing a lot of time, so I gradually just started spending the battery to try and not only keep up with them, but when they started fighting, I think the gap got to 1.5, 1.7, if you want to correct me, but
It got to around that,
then
yeah.
I was quite amazed by the pace I had, because I wasn't pushing that much, because it was clear pushing wouldn't get me anywhere. If I got under the second, I wouldn't have the battery, so it was a mix of both. I can't really decide.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously USA next week. Any sort of any sort of takeaways from tonight that you might try and take into USA?
Uh, I mean, not really specifically, just build it up again. I do reminisce quite well from USA Division 3. Won my first race there after a controversial decision, but I did win my race. It's quite a track that brings memories for me. So just focus on the next race. This one's gone perfectly. Drove my own race, minded my own business, and it worked well.
Yeah. Any sort of questions for our third place driver, Dan?
Yeah, so 15 points today, 15 more points than your teammate scored today. Um, you've been
I know where this is going.
you've self-proclaimed Gary's Rubens. So how does it feel to get those points on the board and prove that you really are the number one in that team?
Wasn't expecting that one from you, Dan. Well, all I'm gonna say is that Gary and I have been close since before COVID was a thing, and that's true. So I know that he's got a lot of pace. I've got a lot of pace, and I don't think he deserves to be called number two, and I deserve to be called number one for only one race. He's actually won a championship. He's actually won races in the same car I've won. I don't think that for having a race in which he just made a mistake and I cruised to third, I don't think I should get that clear distinction. I think we're equal. We both recognize we're equal, but I don't think those distinctions are clear right now. If anything, he's still the number one driver. He's got that championship in his hands.
Disappointed about how humble that was, Nico.
What am I supposed to? I'm not gonna shit on. I'll shit on him on the DMs later, okay? I'll tell him a thing or two. Right now, I'm gonna keep, as I said, the low profile. I'm a good guy.
Fair enough, man. Well, yeah, as I said, congratulations to yourself for taking the final spot on that podium. And yeah, Dan, that's what she wrote for round number 1 now. USA next week. I'm hoping we're going to be seeing the same again. I'd say it's more of like a rounded off track than Bahrain is, so I'm expecting something almost similar for next week.
Yeah, I was surprised by the amount of attrition we had in this race at Bahrain. USA, arguably a more dangerous track with all the high-speed corners, where it's very easy to lose it and get involved in incidents. So we'll see what happens there, if it's going to be a bit cleaner. Hopefully we get a full grid as well. But all in all, very, very action-packed race, and we've clearly seen this field is as competitive as it's ever been in Division 2. Next race in USA, a long season ahead of us, 17 races in length, so we'll see how that unfolds. It isn't today, Killer Blue on top then, pole to win, but of course there's a long way to go. We'll see if he holds on to that championship lead. A lot of threats around though. Anyone from this field still in contention. USA next week, can't wait. We'll see you then.
We certainly will. So thank you everybody for tuning in for tonight. As I said, if you guys want to check out Division 1, 3, 4 and 5, they will all be on the League of Europe YouTube channel. Of course, Division 1, 3 and 4 at 6:30 p.m. British Standard Time or UK time, and Division 2 and Division 5 at 8:10 p.m. British Standard Time or again UK time, and also the PC Division at 8 p.m. on Fridays, again British Standard Time. So make sure you guys all do tune into that one. Thank you to everybody for tuning in for tonight, and we will catch you guys next week for round number 2 around the circuit of the Americas.